Coming up, a man who knows a thing or two about Washington battles that go down to the wire, former House Speaker Newt Gingrich, who once shut down the entire government.
They'll dance around, play games, hold press conferences, meet with rallies, and at the last second, in a magic moment, they will have a secret meeting from which they'll produce a gigantic document which no one will understand. We should have had a drinking game.
Yeah.
Every time for the next 6 weeks you hear the word fiscal cliff, you get to drink.
Right.
The country won't be able to drive. Right. I mean, people will have to walk to work.
Newt Gingrich telling Jay Leno about his novel approach to fiscal cliff, one that I heartily endorse. The former Speaker of the House knows quite a lot about economic crises, his battles with President Clinton, twice led to government shutdowns. His new book is Victory at Yorktown, and Newt Gingrich joins me now. Welcome to you, Mr. Speaker. I thoroughly enjoyed your suggestion for a drinking game, fiscal cliff. The trouble is that if you had it for every time that phrase got mentioned, we'd all be paralytic by about midday.
But think how much less worried we'd be.
Now, look, you are the perfect guy to talk about this, because I'm getting increasingly fed up, bored, miserable with the whole thing. It's just I wake up in the morning with fiscal cliff reverberating in my brain, and I can see politicians playing the very game that you alluded to there on Jay Leno, and it is a game for them, but for other people it's a very real thing. And the economy at the moment is completely stagnant, waiting for something to happen. You've been in a position of very negative government shutdown with President Clinton, and a very positive, where you and he in the second term got together, got stuff done, and actually saw a surplus in the economy. So you know what the reality of these debates are like, and what is likely to be going on behind closed doors. What is the way through this, and how is this likely, in your expert opinion, to be resolved?
Well, first of all, I think it took the very tough 2 closings of the federal government, one for 6 days, the other for 21 days, in order to get to a point where we were able to negotiate seriously to get welfare reform, which was vetoed twice and then signed, and then to get 4 consecutive balanced budgets, which was a pretty substantial accomplishment. The only time in your lifetime we've had 4 consecutive American balanced budgets. So I think it's a combination of how you get to that. I am frankly not at all encouraged by what I see, and a little bit worried by it. I think, first of all, let me lay my cards on the table. I think that no deal is better than a bad deal. I think going off this cliff is less dangerous than letting things build up for a year or 2 years to have an even bigger cliff. I think that the president clearly has staked out a position of non-seriousness, and I think that it's very difficult for the House Republicans right now to find any practical way to get his attention. So he just won an election. He's feeling very good about himself. He is posturing brilliantly. He's putting the Republicans in a corner. They need to relax. They don't have an election until November of 2014. They need to say, look, you want to negotiate seriously, we'll sit down and talk. You don't want to negotiate seriously, the country will survive going off this cliff. It's largely a factor in terms of American history that people will not look back on as a giant tragedy. We need to have serious effort to get this country reorganized, and I see no sign that the political system today is at all prepared for that kind of serious thinking.
Right, but what is so serious about the thinking of a party that just is implacably opposed to raising income tax, even for the richest 2%? Because the American people don't give a stuff. They're like, in all the polls, 2/3 of them, yes, let's tax the wealthiest 2%. And by the way, that's you and me, Newt. And I don't know about you, I'm quite happy to pay a little bit more if it helps the general good.
Well,
are you?
Piers, I'm happy for you to pay it too, and I think if you want to write a check this evening, the Treasury will accept it. I think that's terrific. I'm delighted with your sense of citizenship.
Well, that wasn't my question. My question is, are you personally prepared to pay more tax? Would you be happy to?
Of course I'm prepared. No, wouldn't be happy to. Would I be willing to? Yes, but I wouldn't be happy to. Look, I think this is a wasteful, in some ways, cronyist government with enormous bureaucracies. Let me give you an example. I was just interviewing Governor Mitch Daniel, who's done a brilliant job of organizing and innovating in Indiana for 8 years. In Indiana, they needed $3 billion of additional revenue, so they actually privatized their turnpike, got paid $4 billion for it, took that $4 billion of brand new revenue, no taxes involved, and turned that into dramatic infrastructure. They are now using the private sector to build a bridge across the Ohio into Kentucky in a way that's dramatic It's going to happen faster. It's going to be less than 1/2 as expensive than the original government proposal. There are a lot of things we could do to solve this budget problem. There are a lot of things we could do to build the infrastructure the governor from Delaware was talking about. That's not business as usual. What Barack Obama is proposing is the same bloated bureaucratic government with the same bloated waste, but with more tax money. That's what one economist called socialist austerity. The private sector gets weaker, poorer, has fewer jobs, but we prop up government with higher taxes. I think that's a bad deal for America.
Right, I mean, let's talk about Speaker Boehner, though, because he's obviously in your position, the one that you occupied, and there is a sense that he and Barack Obama just don't have much of a relationship, certainly nowhere near as warm and constructive as the one you ended up having with President Clinton.
You know, first of all, we earned, you'd have to ask President Clinton this, but I think it's a fair thing to say, we earned President Clinton's respect in part by closing the government twice and being a very rough and tumble fight. He came to believe we were serious. We were the first Republican Congress in 40 years, but more importantly, we were the first re-elected Republican House since 1928. That happened, I think, because we showed we actually were serious people, willing to take the heat, willing to do what it took, and willing to work our way to get real solutions. And I would say that President Clinton and I developed a relationship out of recognizing that we both had to be in the same room. We both had to bring two sides of the Constitution. This isn't the president dictating. This is the president representing the executive branch and Speaker Boehner representing the legislative branch. And they have to have mutual respect. I don't sense any mutual respect right now, and I think what you're getting is political games. But respect has to be earned, and I think that's probably going to require the House Republicans to raise the ante dramatically on the president.
Well, tough talking words. I'd expect nothing else from you, Newt Gingrich. Your new book is the American Legacy Book Tour. You're on it with Callista, your lovely wife, and it's called Victory at Yorktown, the book, and Callista's is called Land of the Pilgrim's Pride. So I'm looking forward to reading both of those and speaking to you again in the near future. Good to talk to you.
Thank you.